Joseph also went from Galilee, from the city of Nazareth to Judah, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and the family of David, in order to register along with Mary, who was engaged to him and was with child. While they were there, the days were complete for her to give birth, and she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in clothes and laid him in a manger, a stall, because there was no room in the inn. I love the story, and a couple of years ago, I was reading the story like we commonly do at this time of year, and I just thought to myself, isn't it interesting how many know that Jesus was crucified from the foundation of the world? Revelation chapter 13. How many know Jesus was crucified before the foundation of the world? Isn't it interesting that before Adam had a problem, God had an answer? I don't know about you, but sometimes I think, have you ever failed so miserably, you're like, I messed up God's plan. But God had an answer before you had the problem. God is always previous. And so it's beautiful that God had this plan, and part of the plan was in the fact that the Son, Jesus, would be born, and he planned it from the foundation of the world, and it's kind of cool. Except for, do you know why there was no place for Jesus to be born? Do you know why Jesus couldn't be born in a hotel? It says, because there was no room in the inn. Now, I think there's a lot of good prophetic significance about Jesus being born in the manger and all of things. I've heard lots of messages about it, preached a couple myself. I think they're all true and good. But the Bible says that the reason why Jesus was born in a manger is specifically because there was no room in the hotel. Now, would you think that God, who plans something from the foundation of the world, would make sure and register? I mean, does it occur to you like, hey, you had a lot of time to plan this. You should have made sure you got a hotel room at least? I don't know. And it just speaks to me of the way God works in our life. Have you ever thought about this? Have you ever been in this place where God's called you to do something, you think, well, if God's called me to do it, everything's going to go so smoothly. And I'm thinking, he forgot to get a room for Jesus to be born in. And I don't know if he actually forgot. He just didn't do it. And it speaks to me so much about the fact that God has a purpose for our life, but he doesn't necessarily have a plan. As a matter of fact, I think God has many plans to actually get us to our purpose. I was listening to a message, this is probably a couple years ago, by Mark Sharona. Anybody know Mark? Like, Mark is way too smart. He's like a Hebrew and Greek scholar and a psychologist and a psychiatrist and he went to school. He's got an education, man. I mean, like, he uses words. I have to use my dictionary when I'm listening to Mark. And he had this profound, the first time I ever heard it, I've heard it twice, this message, in LA at Chase Church. He was preaching this message, and one of his statements was that God does not have a plan for your life. He has a purpose. And of course, immediately I think of Jeremiah 29:11, which I memorized out of the New American Standard Bible. It says, and God is speaking, and he says, I know the plans I have for you, not plans of calamity, but plans to give you a future and hope. And Mark quotes that verse and said that word plans is not actually plan at all. The Hebrew word means purpose, destiny, invention, design. And actually, the New King James Bible says, I know the thoughts I have for you, not the plans I have for you. And his point was, and I think it was profound, he said, God doesn't have a plan for your life. He has a purpose for your life, and he has lots of ways to get you to your purpose. Which is kind of, I don't know about you, but it's kind of reassuring because you can't screw it up, because as soon as you screw it up, he goes plan B, C, D, E, F, and if the alphabet runs out, he's still got a purpose for you.